Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Spirit Society of Virginia. We will start tonight's study with a message from the book Our Daily Bread, psychographed by Emmanuel through the mediumship of Chico Xavier. Message number 66, Goodwill. See to it that you live prudently. Paul to the Ephesians, chapter 5, verse 15. Goodwill finds work to be done. Work leads to renewal. Renewal finds the good. The good expresses the spirit of service. The spirit of service brings understanding. Understanding brings humility. Humility wins love. Love leads to self-denial. Self-denial reaches the light. The light promotes self-betterment. Self-betterment sanctifies the individual. The sanctified individual converts the world to God. Proceeding prudently through simple goodwill, the individual reaches the divine kingdom of the light. Thank you.
Let us feel the presence of God giving us the very air we breathe. Feeling the presence, the enlightenment that comes to us, dear Lord of life. We would like to thank you for life, for its preciousness, and for granting us the opportunity of learning all the time, of growing above our current limitations and becoming loyal children of yours. We thank you for sending the spirit doctors here present, the nurses, the therapists, who are always caring for us even when we are not aware of ourselves. We would like to think of your messengers reaching out to everyone who is suffering in any way and form. We pray for those who discarnate. May they transition easily, finding how much they are loved and awaited for a new beginning. For those who remain here, may they stay in faith in you always. We visualize your light enveloping us. And everyone who is here in both realms, those who have their names in the book of prayer, may they receive the energy medicine that they need, feeling your guidance, thankful to the protection you give to us. We kindly ask you to lead us with your permission into this therapeutic educational session for all of us, and so be it. Just hold on. Here. So the book Life and Sex has 26 chapters. Today's 20th. Can you believe it? Right. It was like yesterday when we were just contemplating, studying it. And today we're going to talk about chapter 20 is about sexual control. It's so interesting because this book is all about that. And if I were to write, you see how I don't know, I would have written this chapter at the beginning. But now I understand why he wrote in this way. Because we need that foundation. We can't talk about sexual control without knowing what we've come to know thus far. So it's so interesting that he begins every chapter he quotes either the Spirit's book or the Gospel. He alternates. And this time he's quoting the Gospel for our introduction. Chapter 5, which is Blessed are the afflicted. Okay? So he's talking about sexual control, and as a main reference, he goes to the Gospel according to Spiritism, chapter 5, which is the longest in the Gospel according to Spiritism, and talks about blessed are the afflicted, and he's going to talk about affliction. Isn't that interesting? So he's already telling us, I know it's hard. He's going to tell us this. Remember when the good Spirit said, let all those who are stricken in their hearts by life's vicissitudes and disappointments calmly examine their conscience. Let them go back step by step to the source of the misfortunes that afflict them and see whether they would not often say, if I only had or had not done this or that, I would not be in such a conundrum. Chapter 5, in these items, we're talking about past causes of our afflictions. There are present causes, past causes. And right now, we're sowing for the future. So what kind of future do we want? That's the question. What do we want tomorrow? Because if we don't apply ourselves, tomorrow is going to be as difficult as today or more. Because in cases in which we create more karma, it's going to be harder. So we need to ask, what can I learn from today's challenges to sow better so I not only finish this, but I do not create more things in the future? So Emmanuel begins this chapter quoting the Gospel, talking about affliction, the causes of our affliction. So he's saying it's important for us to control ourselves sexually or else, because there will be consequences. And he says, in the sexual world, he talks about the world, sexual world. There are two types of spirits, two worlds, basically. He says, one of spirits of primary evolution. Who are they? They are the ones who are anchored in irresponsible liaisons. They consist of men and women physically not far from the jungle, remaining close to coexistence with the brutes. Like cases as you hear in India, and then the grupal rape. That's what we're talking about. And I'm not saying it doesn't happen here around the corner. We're just saying we hear very often there. But we know this type of spirits exist, and they may be in our families. People who are addicted to sex, and they have no commitment, no responsibility. And, we look at them because we like them, right? So We feel like, oh, but they are in this category. But are we in this category? That's the main question. More, he says, they remain fixated on polygamy, unbridled, and only very little by little they will awaken to the notions of responsibility in terms of sex through multiple experiences in a series of reincarnations. This is very serious. We wish we had responsible parents who would teach at home their children, their teens about responsibility in relationships. That you do not deceive, you do not cheat, you do not commit. If you want it, you commit. What is this? Is it a playground? Let me check. Some people say, I'm gonna see it. See what? If it's fun? No, we have to have commitment. Last chapter, he begins by saying, there is responsibility in sexual relationship. We wish we knew it, right? Now we know. And that's a problem. If now we know and we make a mistake, it's going to be even worse, the consequences. Remember in the book Evolution in Two Worlds, the Spirit André Louis says, chapter 19, part 2. Where do our illnesses begin? In grave mistakes. And the memory, the remembrance of the grave mistakes. By making a grave mistake, we clog our spiritual body, creating a nodule of vibratory disturbance, what André Louis calls a zone of remorse, that will be expunged in two ways. Either by evolving and loving, not this love like, oh, I love you, winning sacrificial love. Or, majority of the cases, through illnesses. And this is how we become predisposed to illnesses. Guilt is a magnet to illnesses. Guilt. So we need to go after therapists that are good to help us relieve that guilt. Because if we don't, inevitably we'll attract. These spirits, they are not aware. Also because nobody taught them, right? Somebody needs to teach. There is another category, another world of conscious spirits. He says, there is the sexual world of conscious spirits that have already acquired knowledge of their own obligations before life. This group is formed by the consciousness that the truth has already illuminated, students of the laws of destiny in light of immortality. Where are we? Number one, number two. We need to ask ourselves, where am I? In between, it doesn't exist. It's either there or here. Dramatic, huh? Because if we don't feel we fit in here, we're still there. No, but I am married, I have a husband, and but polygamy is not about only, right? Being married to one person, it's about the mind as well. The mind. So, they have already reasoned to the panoramic view of the duties through which we are responsible before ourselves and seek to elevate its own sexual impulses, educating them through the mechanisms of containment. So here he's giving us a direction. How do we educate it? By opening our minds to responsibility and discernment, and also by sublimation, meaning rechanneling containing, not in repression, but in rechanneling. You may contain these waters in this way to rechannel elsewhere. So there is no way for us to educate our sexual creative forces by saying, I'm not going to think about this, I'm not going to do anything, that's not how it happens. We're going to see a little more. Sexual control requires discernment. He says, to talk about sexual control to those who still rave about in polygamous manifestations would be to demand from the caveman responsibilities only attributable to the university professor. So, you can't teach sexual control to anybody and everybody. Not everybody is ready. So, he's going to tell us who then should go through. And we're not talking about sexual education in school, okay? Not that type. Because they don't teach responsibility there. They just maybe teach something related about how it happens and how you prevent it. That's it. But we're talking deeper than that. Who should know about this? Because Emmanuel, surprisingly, he tells us who should be learning about it. This is the reason for which it would be fair to detain someone in this or that study alluding to sex education only with those who are susceptible to understand the exact reflections in this matter. So those who teach should know. Those who receive should be willing. So if they are not, it's fruitless. So, but for parents, spiritist parents, it's a must. We need to tell our children, you don't, because some people will come, start dating, and then promise things, and later they will say, oh, well, it wasn't exactly that. And they will leave feeling that they are excused. Oh. So you don't promise anything unless you're going to honor that promise. Don't promise. Because you are captivating the heart of somebody. That's a form of cruelty. You promise and you don't honor. Last Sunday, we were learning about the law of love. And besides all the teachings in Spiritism, we learned with Dr. Gottman that for a relationship to go forward, we need calm, trust, and commitment. So if the person is too passionate, it's not going to go far. We already know from the start. Passion doesn't transform in love. We need commitment and trust in order to shift gears. But he's saying that, reminding us of what he said in previous chapters, that every time we have a sexual relationship, we have a connection that will stay with us. It doesn't disappear in the air. So the first question he asks, would it be lawful for us to abandon commitments of affective nature before one another? You see, he's not talking about divorce. He's not talking about marriage. Commitments of affective nature. What is it? It could be marriage, but is it only? Could be an engagement. Could be somebody we're dating. Right? Nowadays we have all these online mechanisms, and we hear people so frustrated about it because people are playing games. They're not serious. They're giving themselves excuses to do things that they wouldn't like to receive if they were on the other end. Don't put your profile up. Don't go there just to see how it is. Because on the other hand, there are people who are really willing to make it happen. And they are not counting on somebody who's just, let me check. So if we are emanating this lack of commitment, we're going to attract lack of commitment. If we are emanating deceit, we're going to attract deceit. So if I want sincerity and honesty, I need to ask myself, am I being sincere and honest? Or am I playing games like other people are playing games? People play games in different ways. I'm going to attract exactly what I am needing. So is it lawful before God to simply abandon and allow other people to figure out? See, we wish everybody knew this. Because if we knew this, we would less likely make these mistakes. Very likely we would. But we didn't know, right? Now we know. We should know better. We need to tell our teens. We need to teach our twins as well, the children who are older, almost teens. And now this is the highlight of this chapter. He says, the sexual bond, see, he's not talking about marriage. He's talking about sexual bond between two beings on earth involves the obligation to protect the tranquility and balance of someone, catch a breath, who, in this case, is the partner of the experience, the pair, and very commonly, the two are transformed into others in the person of the children or other descendants. Who knew this? We didn't know. Now we know. The sexual bond should be a way through which we feel the need to protect the tranquility and balance of the other person. Sometimes we think the partner is not doing well and you're like, oh, they're going crazy. The question is, are we helping their tranquility and balance? Because maybe they are not because of us. Because of us. So we need to ask, what am I doing with this vessel of connection between the two of us? Am I protecting the tranquility and the balance of this person? This is new. We've never heard this before. It's very new. The spiritist science is really at the vanguard of humankind's progress. We're living at a society, you may agree, right? We're living at a society that is so shallow. It's so tiresome to see that people don't want to study, don't want to read. They don't want to go deeper in any way it means. They want to talk about the silly, needy things of life. And if you look at social media, you have to dig deeper to find depth, to find deeper intelligence of people who want to think of life, to study deeper, right? And we can measure this very easily by the videos that go viral. I love watching dogs videos. They're cute. It's amazing how many millions of people watch dogs doing things. I know it's cute. Nothing against it. But imagine if those millions of people were watching something else that was deeper. We would probably save a lot of money, headaches, problems. But people don't want to go deep. Because what he's talking about is deep. He's saying, You made sex. Hold on. Now you have a connection. What are you going to do with this? Oh, I'm not so sure. I think it's not for me. Well, it's going to tell us. We need to avoid these adventures, these adventurous drags. In Portuguese, the word is arrastamento. Okay? Then he says, it is therefore urgent to avoid drags on the terrain of sex adventure so that disorder in the proposed or accepted adjustments will not breach the security of the person. We take under our assistance and care, with destructive reflexes on the whole group in which we're rooted through affinity. We think we're hurting only ourselves. No, we're hurting more people than we imagine. These adventures, sex adventures, right? It's the Tinder life. And I will hear spiritists saying, I know some spiritists will say, oh, but that's too rigid. Okay, there's only one law. It's the divine law. Everything else we can postpone, delay, not comply. But if we're not within the law, we're not law. The consequences exist. So it's urgent to avoid. But Emmanuel is so kind that in this book, he doesn't talk much about the dramatic consequences of this misbehavior. He could, because till now he doesn't say what he says in other books. The types of cancer, the types of disorders that will develop because of these misbehaviors. He's being very gentle, very kind. We refer to the importance of loyalty that must be answered with loyalty, whatever the type of union in which the partners communicate sexually with each other, sustaining reciprocal balance. So he repeats the importance of caring for one another. Isn't it true that the law of love encompasses justice and also charity? So we need to think of what we are causing onto the other. Am I caring for the balance, the tranquility? Let's go back. He says, tranquility and the balance of the person. What is our share? And this reciprocal balance. Aware of their duties, the participants of affective communion need to examine to what extent they have generated the causes of indiscipline or desertion in the one who gave up his or her own commitment. So he's going to lead us into reflecting on our share, on what we caused onto the other that deserted us. This is new. Everything is new today. It's a new chapter, new everything. He's asking us to meditate on what we have done to allow this person to go elsewhere, cheat, abandon, etc. What have we done? And to our surprise, he's going to say who is responsible. You ready? In many occurrences of the type, it is fair to ponder that the ones who reveal themselves disloyal to their own commitments They are not the only culprit for the break in the affective bond, but equally the companion who, out of negligence or coldness, pettiness or thoughtlessness in the vows embraced, induce their partner to slip into insecurity in the field of affection, attracting disturbances of an unpredictable nature. This is new. So, oh, the person left, found somebody else, or they broke the commitment. He's not talking about even marriage, he's talking about any sexual bond. What happened that the other person left? What have we contributed with? What are we doing not to stick together? Is it negligence, coldness, pettiness, or thoughtlessness? You need to think. I know a woman, she was married, and the marriage seemed to be well. Right before the first anniversary, the guy left. She kept thinking, why? Why? And then we discovered she was so self-absorbed. She was only thinking of her things, of her goals, her duties, her things that the guy said he checked out. We're not saying he's right, but we're not saying he's wrong either. Because she only wanted to think of herself, and the husband was just a fixture. She learned he was not. How many, like we in the book The Messengers, the case of Vincent, right? He's there married and he thinks his wife is just a piece of the puzzle in his life. And then he learns one day that she has a heart. She's a woman, she has dreams, she wants to be loved. She doesn't want to be a furniture in his life. So we need to ask, are we being negligent, cold, petty, or thoughtless? Question. In the Gospel according to Spiritism, we're going to see that today the greatest therapy for this chapter is in the Golden Rule. Do to others what you'd like to receive. If we recap the whole chapter, we would solve a lot of problems just with that rule. If we go back to the first slide, when we talk about the two types of sexual worlds, there you go. If we taught these spirits here, primary evolution, saying, hey, you can't do to this person what you're doing, because if they do it to you, you wouldn't like it. It would work well. If we talk to the people who want to have 10,000 partners, that they are hurting people and they wouldn't like to be one of them, it would solve a problem. So the Golden Rule would save a lot of headaches for us. And then we would understand this, that we are in a commitment where our duty is to protect the balance and the tranquility of the person to whom we shared our promises, we have our commitment. And it's so interesting for people who claim, but it's just sex. We're just friends, right? With benefits. Even Netflix figured out thousands of stories of friends with benefits that ended up together. It doesn't exist, friends with benefits. There is something there. So it's a decision. It's just a decision to be deeper, to be less shallow, and to know the consequences. Unfortunately, Emmanuel doesn't disclose in this chapter the consequences. But we will study more, not only in this book, but in the books that he wrote, like Laws of Love, that there are consequences. Just by knowing that for every action there is a reaction, for every cause there is an effect, nothing that we do will be unnoticed by our own conscience. So today, we want to finalize with Master Jesus, reminding us of the golden rule. If I give myself the right to do this, imagine if everybody around me, with me, if they do the same, how would I feel? It's like in this room. If anybody stands up and screams, imagine they are giving everybody else the right to do the same. How would we feel? And this is humility. Because the people who are proud, they do things and they do not consider that they would be giving others the same right. We're talking about a vibratory shift in us. It's not about a behavioral shift. It's a vibratory shift. Be conscientious about our actions, our commitments, our responsibilities, so we can feel what we are doing to others, knowing that we're giving others the same right to do these things unto us. So we're going to stop here if we have a question or a comment before the passes. Yes, Hijani.
When was the book published again?
1970.
Because there are points that Emmanuel mentions there that is also reflected in the Gottman's work. So he talks about obligation, tranquility, and there's one more that you mentioned that slide. It's the trust, commitment, the call that we saw on Sunday.
Yeah, tranquility. He talks about tranquility.
Right. And then later on, when he talks about negligence, pettiness, coldness, and defensiveness, thoughtlessness, it's the four horsemen of the apocalypse of a marriage that Gottman also mentions. It's criticism, stonewalling, contempt, and I forgot the other one.
He didn't even read this
Right,
book.
that's what I was thinking, like, wait a minute. It was already around there. Very certain.
Beautiful. You see? Wow. Good observation. Yeah. If we, when we talk about our choices, we need to think that at any minute life may end. It's a reality. People don't talk about death, but death is life, life is death. It will end at some point. And many won't say goodbye. Look at the people in Turkey. Boom! Many thousands of people gone from this life. No time to say goodbye. And that's how life is. And then there's no like, oh, but one more minute. I should have said it. I should have done it, or I shouldn't have done it. Gone. Now to begin a new life. Who knows when we're going to meet that same person, the same people, to make amends. And that's why we reincarnate so often. Because we do not take it seriously. We keep playing. We need to take it seriously. I love Leon Denis when we were studying the book After Death. When he talks about love, he's saying, to the youthful person, just go, find a person, get married, make a family, settle in. But if you say this out loud, people are gonna laugh. Like, what? My youth? So yesterday, I was at a place and I saw, at the jiu-jitsu place, and I saw a woman so young, with a baby and 2 toddlers. It's like, but she was so calm. I said, man, I admire this woman. And then I said, maybe she has another child in. So a boy came along.
Oh, wow.
And he said, wow, you have 4. I said, no, I have 7.
Oh, yeah.
I said, 7? Yeah, I have 4 of them on the mat.
Oh,
And then I saw 1, 2, 3, 4. And she was so composed, so calm. I said to her, God bless you. Really, God bless you. Because she's doing what people should do. Not having 7 kids, that's not to me to decide. But saying, this is it. And you look at her, she's so much at peace. You can tell that she has her hands on it. She knows what she's doing. But what do? My career first. My things first. And then later we're like, oh my gosh, now I need to find somebody to get married, to have children, to have a family. And oh my gosh, 100 years old, now I want to get married. Now I want to have children. Too late. We should have thought of it when we were young. But what do? We want adventures. And now we pay the price. See, there are consequences in this life. In this life. So for us, we'll finalize. If is there anybody else who would like to add anything? Yes, Camila, Carol. Go ahead, Carol.
What if we already realized that we were not as responsible as we could have been, but now we can't go back to redo what we have already done?
Yes.
How to redress the situation without awaiting for a new reincarnation, as you said, because we are incarnated for a reason and we should take advantage of this blessing.
Thank you for your question. I think, Carol, if the good spirits say in the Spirit's book, question and answer 985, if our greatest imperfection is self-interest, the way around is selflessness. It's time to say, I will no longer, if I made the mistake to be so self-absorbed and miss the boat, now it's time to forget about myself and think of others. Mary Magdalene did that. She was not like, oh, Jesus, I love you, but I'm still going to be here in my beautiful home. And I'll give things to the poor, but I'll leave so... No, she forgot about herself and took care of the people who were extremely sick. So her example is the direction. Makes sense.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Right?
Right.
It's like, if I have been selfish, then selflessness is the only way. But this is not that selflessness that we think, the convenient selflessness. We're saying sacrificial selflessness. The true one, in which you forget about himself, like you did. He didn't have a house. He didn't think about retirement. Oh, Vanessa, come on. He knew it. No, he's not playing. He's saying, stop saving money for you if there are people who do not have anything to eat. How do we dare to be so selfish, to save money for ourselves when there are people who do not have the bare minimum? We need to stop this discourse of selfishness and really, really walk the talk. But Vanessa, who is going to think of me? So then, do you believe in God or you don't believe in God? Where is God in your life? Because God's taking care of everything. Chico Xavier never had a retirement plan. Well, he had his pay, but he kept himself humble, thinking of others. But what do we do? The opposite. When we're struggling, we say, I'm going to take care of the people, help. The minute I start making my life easier, I go back to the same pattern that I had before. Buying stuff, traveling, and traveling. It's one trip after the next. Traveling, 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 traveling. And we forget what we came here to do. So we need to think selflessly, as the message by Emmanuel. Begins with goodwill that finds work. And if we follow through and keep on the track, we'll certainly achieve illumination, the ascending thing. Okay? Okay, so we'll ask Paloma to do the passes and Care to do the final prayer. All right? The passes by the good spirits, right?
Let us close our eyes, keeping the image of our beloved Master Jesus front and center, feeling his envelopment, his sweet embrace. Visualizing his loving heart emanating the most radiant light that reach each one of us, involves our body, dispersing old energies, displacing feelings that we are ready to let go. We visualize also our family members. We visualize our homes being enveloped by the same light, creating a radius of protection. We now visualize together the book of prayers, almost as if we could read every single name. Visualizing the group of doctors and nurses that are operating at this very moment, at this therapeutical session. We feel the presence of the higher spirits, allowing the teachings of today to touch our hearts profoundly. Let us now visualize our planet Earth. We emanate to everyone and everything love from our hearts. We especially visualize countries like Turkey and Syria,
visualizing the workers, visualizing the families of the loved ones, visualizing the groups of spirits that are there to assist the discarnation of so many. We feel the presence of Master Jesus, and we know with so much certainty that everyone is being taken care of, keeping His image still front and center in our minds. We ask our dear Carol for the prayer.
Feeling the loving presence of the Master amongst us, we continue to pray for Him to bring strength, serenity, and consolation for those in Turkey and other regions of the world who are experiencing great distress. We also pray for the families of the ones who departed to their true homes, praying so that Master Jesus may bring them healing baskets of hope, consolation, faith, inner strength, for them to come to realize that they and their loved ones, as well as all of us, are children of God. We pray for all the children as well in those areas and around the world who at this moment are experiencing situations of great insecurity that causes them to experience anxiety. We pray for them to find consolation and envelopment in hope and love through the very embrace of Master Jesus Himself, who has told, "Let the children come." May they find shelter in Master Jesus' heart. We also pray for the youth around the earth, so that all teens feel the calling of the Divine Master, for them to be useful in their journey through life. We pray for all parents on the earth as well, so they feel inspired by God to fulfill their divine mission. At this moment, we pray as well for those who are preparing to reincarnate, so they feel strengthened by the divine shepherd and by the divine laws that are written in the realms of their own conscience. We pray so that they feel they can be successful in fulfilling God's will. We also pray for everyone who resists the call of the good. We pray so that all of us around the earth can emulate the Divine Master, take Him as a model, and embrace this beautiful lifetime with goodwill, faith, and perseverance in the good always. With much gratitude for the much that we have received, we also pray for the Spiritus Society of Virginia, all the works that are taking place here, the spiritual hospital, the doctors, nurses, therapists, operating diligently as vessels of divine love, and thankful for the gift of this life and of God's love always, we ask God, Master Jesus, and the mentors for permission to finalize this prayerful moments. And so be it.